All right, welcome to Spiral 3, and this is the first lesson in Spiral 3. Today's topic is percent as a ratio, and the goal is that I want you to be able to understand percent and its application in real-world scenarios. So the first thing we're going to talk about is how do you calculate percent? So in the first example, I have two students take a test on the same topic with different teachers. One student gets 20 out of 32, the other one gets 24 out of 25. Who did better? So I'm going to show you two different methods. Method one works all the time, 100% of the time, every time. So this is the one that is setting up a ratio or a proportion. So if student one got 30 out of 32, and we want to know the percentage, well, we can set it equal to our fraction, okay? So if we want to know the percent is always out of 100. All right, so we're looking for what mark did they get out of 100. So in the bulletproof method, we just use our cross multiply to solve. So we end up with 30 times the 100 equals A times 32. So we usually just write it as 32A. Your final step, you divide both sides by 32, just solving equations. That would leave you with your A value. So when you do this, like I said, it works every time regardless where your variable A is. So in this case, A would equal 94%. All right. The other student got 24 out of 25. 24 out of 25. Again, we set it up as out of 100, and I'll call it B this time. And now we can see a bit of a shortcut here, because can I make a 25 into 100 easily? And the answer is yes. I just multiply it by 4. Whatever you do to the bottom, you do to the top. So if you see that ratio jump out at you right away, you can use that particular method. So that would mean that B equals 96%. So therefore, student 2 did better. All right. So that's method one, setting up your ratios and proportions. All right. Now I want to talk about the other method. Method two will only work in this particular situation. So that's why I'm not a big fan of it, but some students are able to remember multiple approaches. And if this one is something you can remember, this is what you would use. So method one is convert to a decimal. So that's your first step. And then step two is multiply by 100. All right. So in the case of the 30 out of 32, we would convert it to a decimal by doing, and I'll show the extra steps here, 30 divided by 32. So just using your calculator, you get 0.9375. Step two would be to take that value and multiply it by 100. Then we get the rounding at 94%. So the same answer we did on this side over here. All right. So again, it is a little bit quicker maybe, but you have to remember when it can be applied, and it doesn't always. It doesn't apply to every situation. Method one, no matter where the variable is, so if the A was in the denominator, it wouldn't matter. That method will work every time. All right. So just to finish this one off, the 24 out of 25. So we would convert it to a decimal by doing the 24 divided by 25. It would be 0.96. And you would multiply by 100 and get 96%. Now the examples moving forward, I'm going to use method one because it's the one that's bulletproof. It's the one that works in multiple applications moving forward. So flipping over, changing a percent to a decimal. So this is just a review. So that would mean that percent is always out of 100. All right, so 14% is 14 out of 100. And you just use your calculator here. So you end up with 0.14. So I'm showing an intermediate step. Be careful with single digits, just with a 4. That's 4 out of 100, which means when you do that division, you get 0.04. And the 104, again, because it's a percent, as soon as you see that percent symbol, you know your denominator is 100, just using your calculator to do the division or move the decimal over, you would end up with 1.04. So the general rule is divide your percent by 100. All right, so that's the general rule that ties with that. Okay, a couple of examples. So finding percent of a number using ratio. So here's the big thing. As soon as you see that percent symbol, it means that we know more than one number. So that 10%, it is one number, but 10% means we actually know two. We know that we have a fraction of 10 out of 100. Now, we are trying to figure out, on the other side, 10% of 45. So here's something you've got to kind of program yourself for. The word of is the same as total, and totals go on the bottom. So as soon as you see that word of, it means total. Total goes into the denominator, so the 45 is what the total was. What amount of that will give us 10%? Now, I know some people will be saying right away, well, I know it's 4.5. Yeah, that's fine, but I need to show you the process in case you can't do it in your head, like B part. So some people here will be saying, well, I know it's 4.5. Good. So when I do this method, it will prove to you that the method does work. So you divide both sides by 100. When you do that, we find that A will equal 4.5. So yeah, if this is a question on the test, you're going to do it in your head, and that's fine. 63%, most people can't do in their head. So again, as soon as I see that percent symbol, I know I actually have two numbers. I know it is 63 over 100. So there is 63%. Now I look at my other side of the fraction, I see the word of. Of 230 means 230 is the total, so it will go in the denominator, and I'll pick a variable on top. This method, okay, it's bulletproof when you use the cross multiply method. It will solve for B every time. Now there are some people that are using maybe the scale up method, or you're trying to figure out what times 200 will give you that. If you're comfortable with that, by all means, you continue using it. But this method, like I said, will work for you every time. So now we just plug the numbers in, times 230, divide that by 100, and we get 144.9. So if you had 144.9 out of 230, you would have 63%. All right, so moving on to the next set of examples. This example I'm going to cross out because I'm not going to do it with the other method. All right, so we're just going to cross that out of the note. I've changed my mind on that. I'm not going to do it with that method. So that means I'm going to move on to example number 5 here. The yearbook committee, it should be committee, conducted a survey to find out how many students in the school had a cell phone. Of the 63 students surveyed, so hey, there's that word again. What does of mean? Of means total. Of the 63 students they surveyed, they found that 83%, hey, there's that percent symbol, that represents two numbers, not one, 83% had a cell phone. How many students were carrying a cell phone? So the first thing I'm starting with is my percent. Percent gives me a fraction. I know it's 83 out of 100. Now, what am I trying to find? How many of those students had a cell phone? Well, of the 63 students surveyed, so that means we surveyed 63 students. We want to know how many of those 63 have cell phones. Setting it up with the fraction method or the ratio method allows you to, it tells you exactly what numbers to multiply and divide. So you're not guessing at the order. And that's the one thing I find students coming out of grade 8, you kind of memorize what numbers to multiply and divide. This method clearly shows you or reminds you what to multiply, because at this stage right here, this is where I pull my calculator out, and I do it all in one step. So I do 83 times 63 divided by 100, and we get A equals 52.29. We cannot have 0.29 students, so therefore 52 students have cell phones. All right. So this one I said I would do it with method 2 for the example. So in method 2, I would convert 83% to a decimal. So 83%, that's equal to 0.83. All right. Now we need to multiply by the total. We want 83% of a total. So step 2, we do 0.83, 83 times our total, which was 63, and that gets you 52.29. The two methods are really the same. So again, I'm really not a big fan of method 2 because it only works in certain situations where method 1 works every time. All right, good habit to get into method 1. All right, final slide here in the notes. We have 2 examples. First one, a pair of jeans you've been waiting for goes on sale for 25% off. All right, how much will you have to pay if they were $75.99 originally? Okay, if it's 25% off, how much do you pay? So you pay 75% then. All right, so 25% off, but I'm going to pay 75%. I want to find out what is the sticker price. So that means I can just say 75 over 100 because I'm going to pay 75% of the price. The total, all right, it was $75.99. I want to know what is 75% of that. When I do my cross multiply here, you get 75 times 75.99, equals 100A. I was getting ahead of myself. Divided by 100. And what this will do, this tells me my final answer. 99 divided by 100, so 56.99. All right, that is 75% of the cost. So therefore, you pay $56.99. All right, you could do it with the 25% off, figure out what that is, and then subtract it from the $75.99, but it's a lot of extra steps. So it's easier to figure out what percentage are you going to pay. In my last example, we pay 13% tax, so really we want to pay 113% of the sales price. How much money do we have to pay for an iPod, which most of you may not know what they are anymore, that sells for $159.75. So this is your sticker price. So when you go to the shelf, that's the price that's on the label, okay? We want to know what the final price will be. So 100% of the price, okay? That's what you see on the sticker. So 100% of the price is $159.75. When we pay taxes, we pay 100% of the price plus 13%, okay? So I'm just going to write that as 113. All right, we have to pay another 13% on top, and we're looking for that final value. So again, our bulletproof method that always tells us what to multiply and divide. If I take that price, multiply it by the 113, again, I'm getting ahead of myself, and I divide by 100. It tells me exactly what to calculate. 9.75 divided by 100. So at the till, when the cashier tells me what I owe after taxes, it'll be 182. So therefore, after tax, it costs $180.52. So instead of figuring out what's 13% of 159 and then adding it to the 159, this method allows you to skip right to a final answer because you are including the 100%, what I have to pay, plus what I owe the government. So that's why it's 113. If you have any questions, make sure you ask your teacher. Good luck on the practice questions, and we'll see you in the next video.